Let's talk toxins, right? We live in a very toxic world. I'd even go as far to say we ingest toxic soup. Some things, as we know, are very toxic, and we don't even have to question their toxicity. All you have to do is spray a little of this on your oven. And if you breathe it in, you're going to find yourself like gagging and coughing, right? Because it is so, so toxic. Other things are more hidden or discreet, and we might not be aware of their toxicity. But I guarantee you are exposed to toxins each and every day, right? So we're exposed by the things that we put on our bodies, on our skin, being one of our largest organs. We're exposed as we breathe things in through the air. We're exposed through what we eat, what we consume inside our bodies. And I'll even go so far as to say that toxic thoughts can alter your brain and your mindset, but we won't be going there today. That's a whole another conversation. Today, we want to just talk about some of the most common toxins that we're exposed to and eventually get to the place where we can make some transitions to detoxify our bodies and limit our exposure. So it's hard to limit your exposure if you don't know what they are, right? And we are exposed in so many different ways every single day. So we're exposed through, our personal care products, whether it's your cosmetics or your lotions or your shampoo. We're exposed through cleaning products. And these are very obvious ones, right? That come in a bottle and they have a label and you go, okay, what's in this bottle? What's in this package? Another one is laundry detergent, right? We have clothing on next to our skin 24/7, unless of course you sleep naked, which even then your linens, your bedding, right, is still treated with your laundry products. So you're still surrounded by whatever you've used to wash them. But there's some other things like just the clothing itself, not the laundry products, but the dyes and the materials that we wear on our bodies because we've come a long way from natural fibers. Paint on our walls or our furniture is another one, the particle boards and the glues and the things that are used to fabricate our furniture. And here's another one, which I tell you, I'll never truly understand, but our mattresses and even some of like the infant and toddler pajamas. Have you ever noticed the fire retardant tags that are attached? And I get it. This is, the motivation behind it is to protect the child if they're exposed to flames or a fire. But I tell you, if your child is that close to flames or a fire, you probably better be removing them. And our mattresses, same thing. If I'm sleeping and my room is on fire, I would sure hope I would wake up and get out of there, right? So as those chemicals are applied to like our mattresses, we are absorbing that every single night. So chemicals, toxins are in a lot of things that you might not be aware of. And I won't be able to touch on every single one, but I want to touch on some of maybe the most common ones, things that you can watch for that you will see frequently in a lot of these products. And I'll just note here also, because this for me has been a journey. I've tried a lot of different products over the years that are green or clean. And I've also tried making my own. So, like making my own lotions from, like beeswax and shea butter, things like that, and oils, different oils. That was totally an experiment. And sometimes it turned out well, sometimes it didn't. So, sometimes when we try to make the transition from toxic products to clean products, it's hard to find something we like, something that we think maybe works as well. So that's also part of the challenge. And I'm hoping that we'll get there with some of my favorite products that have become kind of tried and true over the years. I will share some of them with you later in this series. But for now, let's talk about just some of the more common toxins that we often see. So some of those things might be parabens, phthalates, BPA is a popular one, pesticides. This one is huge. Synthetic fragrances, which are in a lot of different things, not just, you think of perfume as being fragrant, but it's in air fresheners, it's in candles. There's a lot of different things that use fragrance, right? DEA, formaldehyde, MSG, and food dyes. That's, again, a whole nother category of toxins, which I won't focus on today, but I hope to get there a little bit later in the week because I think they are playing a significant role on our health. Okay. And again, I won't talk about the impact of the toxins necessarily on overall health until tomorrow. I'll give a little more insight on that. But let's just talk about like what some of these things are, what I want to be watching for on a product label. So one of the things that are very common are parabens, and that's because they've been around since the 1920s, okay? They are one of the most common preservative chemicals that are used in our personal care products. They can also be in food, kind of anything that might be canned or packaged, might have parabens added to it. And again, the idea behind it was probably genius at the time to help protect from mold and bacteria, from yeast, keep those things from growing so that we could preserve the products a little bit longer. But since the 1920s, industrialized products have come a long way. And so it might not have been a problem to have a few products with parabens in them. But we are now like bombarded with them, along with the many other things of some of them I'll touch on today, we are just overwhelmed with the toxins. So, the one or two times we were exposed, our body could process through those, and maybe it didn't create a reason for concern. But the amount that we're exposed to in today's day and age is where really the red flags are coming up saying, wait a minute, we are creating a health concern. Okay. So parabens, why are they cause for alarm? Parabens are endocrine disruptors. And I don't know if you're familiar with that term. It's become pretty popular in modern culture, modern age. But your endocrine system is responsible for your hormones, for the communication, right? And so hormones really are just messengers. They are communicating a message, within your body from organ to organ, from your brain to your gut, from your gut to your brain. And they are responsible for like so many functions, maybe every function in your body that transpires. So when those messengers or the messages become confused, that again is cause for alarm. So it might be, something simple. Like if I were to say to you, okay, I, messaged my husband and asked him to stop at the grocery store for pizzas for dinner. And the message he received was stop at Fleet Farm and get oil for the car. Well, obviously, I wouldn't want to eat oil for dinner. So the miscommunication would cause a problem, right? So same thing with our endocrine system and those hormone messages being disrupted and miscommunicated. Also, when it comes to our endocrine system, we're often talking about reproductive ability. So fertility, sperm count, even development in a fetus can be affected by your endocrine system. So, not a good thing, right? So that's our cause for alarm with parabens. Another one that you'll commonly see is phthalates, and phthalates are used to make plastics more soft, more durable. You will see phthalates in your cosmetic and your personal care products again, but oftentimes they are in plastic type products. So like your vinyls, baby bath toys. I mean, think about it. How many children's toys are made out of plastics and could potentially have the phthalates? And what do young children do? Young children want to put everything in their mouth, right? And so assuming that they are not going to ingest some of that is probably a pretty foolish thought, right? A couple other things are like food containers can have phthalates, shower curtains. So think of your plastic vinyl products, okay? They might have phthalates, and phthalates are also endocrine disruptors. So similar to the parabens, they would have some of the same effects on your body. Another one is ethanolamine. And ethanolamine is used as an emulsifier or a fragrance, a pH adjuster. You'll often see it labeled as like MEA or DEA, TEA. That is if you are using products that are manufactured here in the US, because in Europe, this has been prohibited and banned, not allowed in Europe. And that is because it is linked to tumors. So ethanolamine is a known carcinogen. So the connection or the possibility to causing cancer is there. Another one that's fairly common is formaldehyde. Now, formaldehyde can naturally occur in living organisms, but it is again, used in excess. It's used in building materials, typically in a combustion type process, like burning natural gas, gasoline, wood, kerosene, tobacco. So your personal, actually, your building materials used as a preservative in household products. And this one is a gas. So like it can cause like watery eyes, a burning in your eyes, your nose, or your throat, coughing or wheezing. So something definitely, I think of like this stuff right here, right? Definitely like instant reaction makes you your eyes and your chest hurt, right? Again, the cause for alarm with formaldehyde is it again is a known carcinogen. Again, that connection or that link to cancer. And then the next one that I'm just going to touch on quickly is pesticides. Now, this one is the one that actually drew me into this space and studying more about our gut health, our microbiome, because pesticides are most commonly applied to our foods, right? And typically the ingredient or one of the main ingredients, like in Roundup, is glyphosate. And that ingredient, I actually, when I first started studying this, and I would try to repeat that word, instead of saying glyphosate, I would often say glyphosate instead. And it like just struck me like the fate of humanity and, our health rests on us being aware of all the pesticides that are applied to our food. So there's a little, acronym or analogy for you, right? So why is this a problem? Why are the pesticides a problem? Pesticides like glyphosate was not originally patented as a weed killer. It's actually patented as an antibiotic, right? And we know that biology is life. So it's anti-life. It's actually preventing your body from getting the amino acids or the synthesis of preventing the synthesis of amino acids that we need for proteins. Proteins are our building blocks of life. So when we apply these pesticides to our food, it blocks the plant from being able to acquire what it needs from the soil. It can also, as the residues are on our food, create havoc for our gut, our microbiome, because that antibiotic is killing off good bacteria within our gut. And again, this is a whole big topic, so I'll leave it there. But definitely something that you want to make yourself aware of, especially in the American culture, because so much of our food, if you were to look at like the majority, I don't know the percentage, but a large majority of Americans, their diet is based on grain-based products. So not only are we applying the glyphosate to the soil or to treat the ground, the weeds, so they don't grow, but we also use it as a desiccant. So when the crop is mature, we apply the glyphosate to dry it out faster so we can harvest it sooner, so we can grow the next crop sooner. It's all about money and production, right? How fast we can make these things happen. But again, the majority of the American diet is crackers, it's cereal, it's bread, it's, donuts and pizza, right? All of these things are grain based and these pesticides are being applied and it is having a dramatic effect on our health. So some of the ways I mentioned your gut microbiome and how that healthy bacteria can be killed off, which that will affect you in numerous ways. But it also can cause damage to your liver. It can create fatty liver disease. It can cause damage to your kidneys. And there's also connections being drawn to cancer. So again, another one of the ways that you want to make yourself aware. Eating organic food is one way to limit your exposure to pesticides. You won't eliminate it, but again, you can reduce it. And maybe more on that later when we talk a little bit more about food. So these are some of the main ones that I wanted to draw your attention to. Tomorrow we'll talk about how these toxins affect your health. In what ways do they affect your health? And I'd like to get to how we can detoxify our bodies, the steps that we can take, what transitions can we make as far as the products that we use so that we're limiting or reducing our exposure to these toxins. I will share my favorites with you, things that I have found over the years, trying products, throwing away products, to find things that work. So stick with me for this series. I'm excited to share more with you. Going to try to keep it in these little short clumps so that it's a little bit easier to digest, takes a little bit more time. But feel free to comment or ask questions. I would love your feedback.